All right, welcome everyone to our September series of Bump in the Dark. Welcome to Last Pine. We are going to be playing the game Bump in the Dark, which is a game I wrote, kind of play testing some stuff and just hopefully having some fun over the month of September. I thought we could go around and just introduce ourselves, name, pronouns, and any plugs or social media stuff that you want to share. So I'm Jex. I use they and them pronouns. I'll be your keeper for this series. You can find me on Twitter at JexJThomas as well as on itch.io. Same username, where you can buy this game if you think it seems cool. And we'll just go across my screen. Steven.
Yeah, hey there. I am Steven, he, him. Have been here on the Gauntlet for a couple of years now. I've been running the Gauntlet Green Club for the past year, and you can find most of that stuff at Steven Alligator.
Awesome, thank you. Ben.
I'm Ben. I use he and him pronouns. I've been with the Gauntlet for a couple of years now. This is my second Fortune in the Dark, and you can find stuff I make and my rare post on Twitter now at Arctosaur.
Awesome, thank you. Barry.
Hi, I'm Barry. She, her pronouns. This is my third game on the Gauntlet, and you can find me anywhere except on the Gauntlet, if maybe we can meet at some game.
Awesome, thank you so much. And finally, Thomas.
Yeah, hi, I'm Thomas, use he, him pronouns, and I do a weekly newsletter about indie games, which you can find at ttrpg.substack.com.
Cool. ttrpg.substack.com? I feel like that's very lucky to have gotten that before someone else did. Awesome.
Yeah.
As folks mentioned, we are playing through the Gauntlet Calendar. Gauntlet Calendar is a space for online role-playing games. You can find out more information about the Gauntlet at gauntlet-rpg.com. The Gauntlet hosts over 100 games each month, a variety of systems and genres, with kind of an emphasis on indie games, story games, and the OSR. So you can check that out again at gauntlet-rpg.com. So while playing Bump in the Dark for the month of September, we are also we are going to be using some safety tools to kind of help keep us safe while we play, and help kind of stay on top of the tone and subject matter that we explore. So we will be using a few different safety tools. We'll be using lines and veils, the X card, some of the script change tools, and as well as the open door policy. So I'll just go over each of those quickly. Lines and veils is a way of sort of managing content that might show up in the game. So a line is a hard boundary, something that will not be in the game. So for instance, there is a line on racism and homophobia. So those will not occur in this game. A veil, on the other hand, is a little bit more of a softer boundary in that those subjects can happen in the game, but they aren't going to happen on screen. So think about this, the time in a movie where the camera sort of pans away and that there's like, something violent going on back where the camera was, but the camera chooses not to linger on it. Another example, in old movies when two characters get into bed, it fades to black and then comes back in with them smoking a cigarette. We all know what happened, but we didn't have to see it on the screen. So that's exactly how a veil works. There are also things that might be marked as ask first, which is just like, hey, let's check in and see if it's okay for this to show up in the game. Has everyone had a chance to add their lines and veils on the safety tab? Cool. Are folks okay with me going over them on the recording? Okay. We have, I'm just going to go through in alphabetical order. For bullying, that's ask first. So if that comes up in the game, we're going to kind of slow down and check in on that. There's a veil on eye injuries. I'm going to put a veil on harm to children. There's a line on homophobia and racism and sexual assault with a veil on sexual content. We have a veil on suicide, a veil on torture, a line on transphobia, and a veil on virus, plagues, and pandemics. Um, so again, those things that have lines on them will not be showing up in this game. Veils and asks first might, but there'll be some, either it'll happen off screen or there'll be some negotiation around it. Script change tools are by Bo Yeager Sheldon. And we are going to be using 4 of those tools to just kind of check in. Actually, before I go into script change, just real quick, I'll mention the X card. The X card is kind of the simplest safety tool, the easiest to implement. It can be used at any point if anyone is uncomfortable with the content happening in game. So maybe there's something you didn't realize was a line for you, right? When that happens, you can cross your arms like this. You can put an X in the chat. There is I believe that there's a X card feature in our dice roller as well. I'll put the link for the dice roller in the chat also. So yeah, if anything shows up that you're like, nope, I don't feel good about this, feel free to just exit out. I'm not going to, make you tell me why or anything like that. There might be a little bit of just sort of, hey, help me understand specifically what it is that we don't want to show up. So I might ask questions around that. But otherwise, the X card is sort of a no questions asked tool. You say, I don't want this. We're not going to have it. Something the script change kind of elaborates on that a little bit. So it gives us a little nuance around content. So the tools that we're going to use is the pause tool. So you can call for a pause if you need a break from an intense scene, or you need to take a bio break. If you're seeking clarity or discussion about something that happened, the rules of the game or the content that's showing up. You can say pause. You can write pause in the chat. You can, I guess, maybe do this symbol, whatever it might be. We'll also use rewind. Rewinding is sort of backing up to a specific point in a scene and doing the scene over again, avoiding whatever issue led to the rewind and trying a different way. So this is kind of what we'll do when we, if we do use the X card. Fast forwarding is sort of similar to putting a veil on something, but this is something we get to do in the moment, right? As we realize something comes up that we don't want to linger on. So when you fast forward, you fade to black and advance time as needed to avoid content or certain elements of play, or to just move forward in time. Finally, we'll be using frame by frame or slow motion. Calling frame by frame before scenes with content you want to play through with care, right? So maybe that bullying thing, we say, okay, yes, it's okay for bullying to be here, but let's just really kind of take it step by step and, make sure that we feel okay with what's happening. During the scene, players will call kind of occasional pauses to check in, and really take the scene slowly. Finally, one other thing that we will be using as part of the Gauntlet calendar is the open door policy. The open door policy is exactly what it sounds like. If you need to step away at any time for any reason, you may do so. As long as you're doing so in a mature manner, you can do that, again, for any reason at any time without being judged. This can be things as simple as needing a bio break, taking a phone call, going to the other room for an emotional cool down. Everyone here is an adult and deserves the respect to take care of their own needs. If you know that you're not going to come back, that would be helpful to communicate, but you don't have to. For my part, if I ever have to step away and I'm gone more than, let's say, 10 minutes, just assume that I'm not coming back. I don't foresee that happening, but I do have a small child, so it's possible that could come up. Anyone have any questions about the use of safety tools? Great. So I'm going to just briefly go over a little bit of the setting information, and then we can actually start with character creation and pact creation, and uh, then maybe take a little bit of a break after that, and go into maybe a kind of a brief starting situation. Um, so this game takes place in the year 1994 in the region of the fictional Ontonagon Peninsula known as Iron Country. Iron Country is a belt of mining towns that are barely clinging to life. There's a lot of dilapidated, sort of closed down roadside attractions that kind of remind us of a more prosperous time when mining was in full swing. It's a place that's sort of in process of kind of being ravaged by the indifferent forces of industry. Of course, it's not just the forces of industry that are kind of coming into play in Iron Country. It's also the forces of the void, or sort of dark powers. The mining towns are surrounded on all sides by a forest known as the Sylvan Wilds. It's a state forest known for old growth pines and strange happenings. And all of Iron Country seems to be kind of teeming with the supernatural, something that those in power would like to conceal, and something that regular folks have gotten very good at rationalizing. The epicenter of all of this is Last Pine, a small town or small city that's kind of been hit especially hard by the long, slow death of the mining industry. Um, it's a lot like any sort of small town or city you might find in the northern Great Lakes region of the United States. Kind of say it's full of nice but occasionally meddlesome people just trying to survive. Um, like I said, there's a dark and dangerous underbelly that's directly connected to an ancient evil. This ancient evil has a number of names, kind of depending on who you ask. The void, the encroaching darkness, the whispering veil, the endless night. And the people of Last Pine are very well practiced at turning away from the darkness, pretending it isn't there, and trying to go on with their lives as if the void hasn't been swallowing up their friends and neighbors for generations. I want to say, though, that at the same time, the people of Iron Country, they aren't deluded. They're not stupid. They're just trying to do the best they can to get by, sort of after being dealt a shitty deck. This tension between regular folks kind of just trying to survive and this encroaching, suffocating darkness is going to be pretty present, and will inform the kinds of hunts or mysteries that you find yourselves faced with. And hopefully there'll be kind of building intensity and rising stakes. Any questions about the setting at all? All right. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about um, character creation? So the game has 7 playbooks or character types to choose from. And in a moment, we can kind of talk through what y'all are thinking, what kind of playbook you might want to do. Shields are headstrong fighters and protectors. Icons are calculating liaisons and agents. Scourges are formidable spell slingers and magic users. Staves are sneaky scoundrels and crooks. Ravens are adept thinkers and watchers. Lances are passionate occultists and zealots. And the unshaped are plucky novices and innocents. So we talked a little bit offline about what playbooks people were interested in, but I'm wondering if anyone is feeling particularly strongly about what you would like to play.
I just wanted to first ask, Jex, do you have any any preferences for a playbook you'd like to like to see in action as the designer?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really great question. I don't. I've thankfully gotten to see all of these in play at one time or another, so I feel really thankful for that. Um, I guess looking through the ones that I've seen probably the least are the Stave, the Raven, and the Unshaped. But I have no strong preference. I really whatever folks are most interested in is what I want to see. I want to see all kind of hopefully really connecting with the playbook. So was there anything that really called to anybody?
I think Barry and I had very similar playbook choices, so I'll take whichever one Barry doesn't.
All right. I think we're all very agreeable people and don't want to step on each other's ideas. I always, when I play in games like this, I always have at least 3 ideas just to make sure that the whole group gets together. So, yeah, so for me, I'm thinking mostly either the shield or the unshaped, because of my 3 ideas, the 2 are the kind of the ones that I have like most clear picture of. So maybe for you, Ben, I'm not sure if you'd like the scourge or if you'd prefer the shield. Because for now,
I'm good with pretty much either. I have a picture in my head for both too. So
Barry, does one of those feel more fun or more interesting to you than the other for your character concepts?
so it's always like it depends on who other people are, because the concepts can match with the others or not. But maybe I can tell about both, and then we can decide together, just like briefly. So my concept for the shield would be like a school PE teacher, somewhere in the 30s or pushing 40, who would be a coach of the hockey team in the local high school, and just kind of very caring about the school team and the kids in the local community, but also, a bit of a strict coach. And then the opposite character for the unshaped, completely different, would be I've read a bit in the setting guide in your book, Jax, about the rangers of the Sylvan Wilds, and I read that they have a gift shop, and my idea would be that is former scout, young wannabe ranger who is working in the gift shop there.
Oh my god, I love both of those concepts so much. One thing that's great about Forged in the Dark games is that it's possible we might get to see both of them in play. But wow, I don't know. Ben, I guess after hearing that, does that move you in any particular direction?
yeah, I think I'll go Scourge because I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to see that shield.
Cool, awesome. So Barry is going to play the shield. Ben will be the scourge. Thomas, how about you? Any thoughts?
Yeah, so I like the sound of the raven and the lance. I think the lance is interesting because just occultists are fun. Like, I think they're just a fun kind of trope. But I think I will play the raven, and I really like the ability to use flashbacks. I use plot armor to initiate flashbacks. Really. Yeah.
Awesome, cool. All
Yeah,
right.
I think in that case, I will play the lance.
Awesome. This is a pretty well-rounded crew here. So after choosing your playbook, there's a couple of things that we'll go through and do, and we'll actually just walk through the character creation process. So first, choosing your playbook, which represents your strengths as a hunter, your special abilities, kind of how you advance. The next thing that you do is choose and detail a background. So backgrounds are made up of three elements: a field, a specialty, and an origin. Field and specialty are both broad by design. These are prompts to sort of get your imagination flowing. The origin, on the other hand, is more specific, but it's actually very simple. Are you local to Iron Country or not? So are you from Iron Country or are you from somewhere else? And then kind of based on those elements, you can kind of come up with a specific history. It doesn't have to be super in depth. A sentence or two is all you really need. And we can also tweak those as you get to know the other hunters. So the fields are criminal, investigation, occult, public. I guess I'll give a brief description for each of those. Criminal, so before you became a hunter, you flouted the laws of the land. Maybe you still do. Investigation, you specialize in solving mysteries, uncovering and processing knowledge. The occult, becoming a hunter wasn't your introduction to mysteries beyond our understanding, but it did open new doors. Public, you're good with people. Now you're good with monsters too. Science, you're trained in the study of the material world and what's magic, but science we don't yet understand. And the trades, you don't know what it's like to, or you know what it's like to work to get by and what happens when that isn't enough. These days, it seems like it's never enough. And then the specialties within that are academic, interpersonal, and technical. You can sort of interpret those however you'd like, but maybe some examples. So a technical criminal could be a black hat hacker or a pickpocket or even an assassin. Someone who chooses the field trades with a specialty academic, that could be a school teacher. Interpersonal might be a musician or a retail worker, etc. If you have the book open, page 40 actually details some more examples of those. But yeah, if you want to go ahead on your character sheet in the character keeper, and you can claim the one that you've chosen and pick a field, a specialty, and an origin. And then if you have ideas for a background based on that, you can go ahead and just sort of put something in. Quick question before we proceed. Would it be best for me to go through all the steps kind of at once, or for us to do a step, take a break, fill it out, then move on to the next step?
No difference for me. I've read it just before.
Okay. Yeah.
I think step by step.
All three together works for me.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we'll kind of go step by step. So go ahead and fill those out. We'll take a couple minutes to do that and then move on to the next step. And again, if at any point you have a question, please do not hesitate to ask. At the same time, also, if you want to, go over ideas with the others too, just to see if things match up or whatever, feel free to do that also. And then just put a yes or a Y in the chat once you've picked your background stuff.
So mechanically, what does picking a specialty mean here?
Mechanically, it really doesn't mean anything at all.
Okay.
It's pretty similar to kind of how the background and heritage stuff works in Blades. It's going to inform the fiction,
Okay.
but yeah, it doesn't tie into a specific mechanic. All right, great. I'm already very excited to meet these hunters. Cool. So next, you are going to mark 4 action dots. So you should be starting with 3 already marked. You get to mark 4 more, so you'll have a total of 7. At the start of the game, no action may have more than 2 marked dots unless you have a special ability that tells you otherwise. So one way to guide this, if you're not sure, is that this could be something that's informed by your background. You could mark, a dot or 2 based on your trade, a dot or 2 marked on your specialty. But honestly, you can mark whichever dots seem most fun to you, what you want to do, what you want to play. Yeah, feel free to bring your background into that, but also feel free not to. And then once you've marked 4 action dots, then you can choose an ability from the list. If you can't decide, the first one is a good option. And if anyone would like to start with a monstrous ability too, let me know. I guess if that fits your character concept at all, and we can talk about what that looks like. But yeah, so go ahead and mark your action dots, choose an ability from the list, and again, just give me a heads up in the chat when you've done so.
And that's 4 in addition to the starting 3 here?
Correct. So you should start with 7 total.
Okay.
And no more than 2 in a particular action.
So you can just choose to start with the monstrous ability, right? Like there is no.
Yes, yeah. So if you'd like to start with a monstrous ability, you can. But the sort of trade-off there is that you'll actually start with one doom marked as well. So it'd be kind of like in Blades, starting with a trauma at the start of the game. But yeah, if it fits your character concept, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll take one. Yeah.
And also to clarify, that is in addition to taking a special ability. So you get to take a special ability and mark Doom to take a monstrous ability if you'd like.
So we can have at most 2 in a particular skill.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. At least starting out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way that I bring a monstrous ability in the character keeper, or can I just copy paste?
Yeah. If you can copy and paste it, let me check. I was meaning to update the character keeper before we played, and I updated most stuff, but I don't think that. Let me just double check something real quick. Oh, yeah. You'll have to copy and paste. There's an old version of them sort of in the data hunters tab. Actually, these might be pretty close. So you can look, and that it'll be easier to copy and paste from there if it's one of the ones in there. Otherwise, from the PDF, and I'll make a note to update that.
Sorry. What are we trying to finish? I'm not sure if I'm done or not.
If you put in your monstrous ability, probably just choosing your action dots and selecting your ability.
Cool.
So it should be 7 in total, right? Because I think I messed it up.
Yeah, 7.
Okay. I wrote something funny. Could you explain the change in the mechanics?
Yeah, so just thank you. Yeah. So as I was looking through here, I realized I hadn't updated some of the wording for one of the abilities. So really it's just that conditions used to have a rating of moderate, it was, I think mild, moderate, or severe. They no longer have that. So instead of being able to turn a moderate condition into a mild one, you can just expend your plot armor to ignore a condition from an attack in combat, or to push your luck at no cost during a fight. So
All right. I wouldn't notice that you
yeah,
changed it.
I just figured if I'm going to change it, I should probably say something. Nice. Anyone still need a minute? Cool. I'm seeing some pictures in here already, so that's exciting too. Cool. And then next, going to choose or create 2 connections. One who ties you to Last Pine for good or for ill. That'll be the upward pointing triangle. And one who pulls you away from or is pushing you out of Last Pine, the downward pointing triangle. When we do character introductions, I'll probably ask you a little bit about those relationships. So unlike Blades in the Dark and some other Forged in the Dark games, you actually don't start with all of these connections. You just start with the kind of positive and negative ones, and then add more through play. But again, the upward pointing arrow is someone who ties you to Last Pine in Iron Country. The downward pointing arrow is someone who pulls you away or is pushing you out of. And if none of the names on the list are appealing to you, you can feel free to make something up. Anyone need another little time still?
Yeah, I'm still thinking about
Okay,
names.
perfect.
Names are always hard for me.
Sure.
Should we have a drive yet, or is that something we'll think about a little bit later?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec. If you're ready to move on, feel free to choose your solace. So every character carries the burden associated with living the life of a monster hunter. Over time, this becomes more and more difficult to manage, and you must have some sort of solace or process or deal with it. Those are detailed in the book on page 44 if you'd like to look at those. Otherwise, you can ask questions or interpret it however you'd like. In terms of the beliefs and drive, those I've found often are helpful to create after we've introduced the characters to each other. But if you have any like strong ideas, you can go ahead and put those in as well. One of your beliefs is going to be about your either the pact or one of the other hunters, and your other belief is about the supernatural, and then your drive is sort of what you work to accomplish. All of these should be actionable in some way. And there are prompts listed on page 45 in the book, which I can share. I can put up on the screen or whatever might be helpful. But again, I found generally it makes sense to come back to beliefs and drives after meeting the other hunters. And then so once you've done your connections, chosen your solace, and if you want to do beliefs and drive, then you can put down name, pronouns, and a look. And then just put a yes or a Y in the chat. And once everybody is ready, we'll go around and introduce the characters. Still here, just off cam for a minute.
Yeah, I think I've done everything except beliefs, so I'm good.
Perfect. Great. Well, it looks like it's the top of the hour, so why don't we take a 10-minute break? Be back at 10 after, and we'll introduce characters and then maybe come up with some beliefs and drives. How's that sound? Great. All right. I'll see you all in 10 minutes. We'll give Thomas just a minute to return. There we go. Perfect. All right. Cool. So how do we feel about going around and introducing our characters? Cool. Why don't we go, if it's okay, in character keeper order? So we'd actually be starting with Barry. Barry, do you want to tell us about your character?
Sure. So my character, the shield, her name is Angela Miller, and she's around 40 years old. She's kind of a batch lady. I found a nice picture for her, made her a bit older, bit to match it. And she's a very athletic kind of person, and wearing and styling herself in a more masculine way. She has, what am I supposed to say other than that? Yes, as I mentioned before, with my character concept, I basically went with what I said. So she's a she's a hockey team coach in the local high school. And she's a bit of maybe not a strict, but a tough person. So not someone who will be very soft, but she has a kind heart and really cares about all the teammates in her team and also about the community. But sometimes she might say the wrong thing or someone not very socially maybe adept. And yeah, that's it.
And what ability did you choose?
All right. Thick skin.
Okay.
So
thick.
to hurt. Yeah, I can ignore a condition and I can push my luck during the fight.
Awesome. And why don't you tell me a little bit about your connections? Who ties you to Last Pine?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Angela is a local to the Last Pine, and she used to belong to the same hockey team that she now coaches, and she has some of her older friends that she still went to school with, still in the town. So basically, lots of people. But the one that I highlighted here is Tony. So her best friend from high school, who used to be in a team with her, and now is one of the miners working in the mines. And her connection from the outside is a teacher she met at a teacher conference back in out of the state, some sort of event to prevent violence amongst teenagers, and she met this teacher named Cassie, and now they exchange letters.
Okay. And so I'm curious if you have any thoughts on sort of what the idea of Cassie kind of pulling you away from Last Pine. Like, is she regaling you with stories about the world outside of Ontonagon, or like what do you think about that relationship sort of pulls you a little bit?
Maybe it's like a very writing letters to each other kind of crush situation. So it's nothing that it has ever realized, but it's a bit of what if. So she doesn't really want to come. It wouldn't be a place for her to come to the Last Pine, but maybe, maybe somewhere else it would be right place, right time.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So Cassie, there's a little bit of that sort of, I think there's something so special too about that sort of, I mean, not that this is pre-internet, but certainly pre everyone being on the internet, and that sort of pen pal kind of thing is really special. Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Cool. And then, Ben, why don't you tell us about our Scourge?
So that's the Scourge is Troy McPhee. He's a mid to late 20s carpenter, a local to Last Pine. His father was also a carpenter, and his mother was a magic user, which is where he either learned his skills or gained his curse, depending on his mood and who you ask, I guess. He is starting with the skill Slanted and Enchanted when he invents or crafts a creation with arcane features. I can take +1 to my roll, and I begin with 1 arcane design. And also the monstrous ability Eldritch Secrets. Troy has learned how to imbue his hands, weapons, or tools with occult energy, which he can channel into an attack.
Awesome. Cool. What is Troy's solace?
His solace is camaraderie, because he is really deeply lonely, and having some friends who maybe don't see him as being cursed, or just being around people is really good for him.
Yeah. And just real quick, if you can go over his look.
Sure. He has long hair, a shy smile, wears a lot of denim and flannel.
Nice.
Cut out there. Sorry.
Great. And Barry, I realized I forgot to ask you about Angela's solace.
I think I'm going to also put camaraderie, and especially like going back to the community, maybe to the bar or to somewhere where people are organizing something, and feeling the belonging.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. All right. Thomas, can you tell us a little bit about our Raven?
Before we go on to Thomas, what are our Scourge's connections?
Oh gosh, thank you, Stephen. Yeah.
So he is friends with Keen Ebonywood, a curios vendor, mostly because he makes curios that Keen will sell. I think Keen is familiar with his Eldritch history, so there's a bit of a bond there. And Derwin Umbra is a medium who Troy considers a fraud. Derwin was, I think, a bit of a rival to Troy's mother, and there's some familial animosity there. And maybe Troy thinks Derwin had something to do with his parents' death. Maybe. But yeah.
Cool. So how does that sort of either pull you away from or push you out of Last Pine? Is Derwin located in Last Pine?
Yes, and I think with everything going on in Last Pine, Derwin is becoming quite popular, and it's not a good feeling.
Oh, and this is the 90s, so what if he has like one of the early like cable like medium shows that is coming, that is bringing in like he's bringing in jobs to town working on this show.
Right, yeah. Billboards everywhere you turn. There's Derwin's Destiny.
Oh, that is so good. Is that the name of the show, Derwin's Destiny?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I love that. Cool. And does Keen have a shop in town, or is it like off in Sawyer Harbor where there's a little bit more tourism, or like what's that like? And what kind of curios do you make?
So I'm not sure about what kind of curios. I think he makes lots of little things and furniture. He's more of a Finnish carpenter than like a build-a-house carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Keen is in town as well. Not a super successful curio shop, but still hanging on barely.
It definitely has like kind of an uptick in the summer when there is a little bit of tourism, mostly people coming to surrounding areas, but like, let's check out this quaint little town.
Right.
Okay, great. Okay, now Thomas, can you tell us about the Raven?
Okay. So I am playing Book, just Book. It's a he's an outsider. He they pronouns. He's an outsider in the sense that he used to work at University of Michigan. He was an archivist / librarian there, primarily like kind of like archiving like scientific like research documents. And then as the university was modernizing and started kind of embracing like computers and things like that, he for some reason refused to work with them and was like he just like said that I can't, and at some point was summarily like fired, after which they kind of ended up here. And while they're here, they have been kind of just using the pseudonym Book. But the sort of reason why Book won't use a computer is because anytime he's around one, like they speak to him, and this is his monstrous ability, voices from beyond. So basically, computers, when he's in the presence of computers, he hears these dark whispers, and he's like, this is wrong. For him, computers are the creation of some entity, some power. They come from a different dimension. We should be scared of them. And that's his thing. He needs to figure out what's going on with this thing that has enthralled so many of his former colleagues and the world, it seems. As the Raven, he's a thinker and a watcher, so good at making plans and stuff like that. Let me. Shall I get into contacts, connections?
In just a moment. You said he's good at making plans. So what is their special ability aside from the monstrous one?
Okay, yeah. So the ability I chose was called All Part of the Plan. Basically, I can expend plot armor to reveal that whatever's going on was my plan all along, and flashback to how I prepared for this exact eventuality, which gives me 2 extra dice when helping a teammate. So I mean that's pretty great. Like,
yeah, it's a powerful one.
Yeah.
Cool. And what is your solace?
So my solace, I kind of struggled with this. Honestly, I went with solitude because I think Book, when they kind of left University of Michigan, I think they stole a bunch of stuff. They stole a bunch of like papers and documents that they believe contain some kind of secret. So when they have free time, they kind of sit with it. Like the basement of their house is like papered with these documents all along the wall. They kind of stare at it and they're trying to like figure out. They're quite sure that at some point things will click and they will see the pattern that's kind of hidden away behind all these words and proto code or whatever. Yeah.
Awesome. And I mean, I wonder, is the solitude also like partially like increasingly there's more and more computers around?
Yeah.
So it's a place to kind of get away from them, and I don't know, maybe the basement's even like I don't know, has wrapped in that like foil stuff or something, or who knows?
Yeah. If you can hear voices all the time, you kind of like your basement. Like,
Yeah.
your privacy.
Right, great. And who connects you to Last Pine?
So my positive connection, the person kind of keeping me here is Basil Godlove, who is an occult bookseller. I think Basil is someone in on Book's mission. Is trying to like look for things that could help them, and just sourcing things for him. And the person pushing him out of Last Pine is Hunter Andrews. Hunter Andrews is a cryptozoologist and has, for some reason, some kind of competitive streak. Is like thinks that only one person can be right about what's happening at Last Pine, and it's going to be Hunter Andrews. And Hunter Andrews is completely wrong, has never gotten a thing right, believes in Bigfoot, which is just come on, um, book, sort of is deeply annoyed at Hunter Andrews, and doesn't think of Hunter Andrews as competition. And now that we have that tacky talk show with Derwin, I think Hunter Andrews and Derwin could potentially be good friends.
I love that. He's Hunter is a regular guest expert. Were you and Hunter colleagues at the University of Ontonagon?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, maybe Hunter was, and he was fired, but he was fired for like constantly talking about blurry pictures and bringing them up in like staff meetings or whatever, just showing them. Yeah.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on there? Okay. Last but not least, Stephen, can you tell us about our Lance?
Well, yes. Hello there. I'm Vanagan Babajanian, but you can just call me Mrs. B. Well, I had a very pleasant youth, traveling the world, stealing away ancient horrors. But you get old and you can't always keep up with that sort of thing. So I retired to this nice little town where I'm currently working as the school librarian. My solace is, well, I have this actually relates a little bit to a bit of a run-in I had with the local Bishop Allgood. But Bishop Allgood has formed a church against magic and had asked me to take several books out of our library. And well, in the end, I started up a little sort of band book club as part of an after-school program that I currently run. And, I just think that Father Allgood, I mustn't say anything bad about him, but he can just, stick where. And my other connection, and I'm actually wondering if this is just to make a nice little, because this is personally when I heard that we were having a coach in this, I just immediately went to school librarian. I went with Ollie Young, a young high school football star. And I think that Ollie Young, if he's actually a hockey star, but it's something his father has really pushed him into, because he is all in. You need to get the scholarship so that you can go on to college. But Ollie secretly really loves poetry and writes it in secret. And I've been workshopping a lot of his poems with him.
So
is Ollie's dad Tony?
Sure, that would be great, I think.
Sorry, Barry, I didn't mean to talk over you before.
No, sorry, no problem. Yes, yeah, I think that would be great, and maybe Angela and Mrs. B kind of compete over Ollie a little bit and try to push him. I think they are great friends, but this might be.
Oh well, I know that Angela just has the best interests of all her students in mind.
And what's your special ability?
Oh, yes, my special ability is charming and disarming. I may push my luck to cause all hostile creatures to pause while I speak. I have some thoughts about what that will look like, but I want to leave it as a surprise for folks. And then I can also push myself to surprise someone with damning information, making them momentarily dazed. And gain improved position on your next action toward them.
Fantastic. And you went over your solace. How does Mrs. B dress? What do we see
Oh,
when
I
you go into the
wear
library?
scarves, magical bangles, and a lot of sweaters. Very like I have a collection of very tacky sweaters.
Fantastic. I can't wait to hear all about those. Um, I love this crew already. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about the pact that ties these four together? Um, so the pact is what ties you together and to the people of Last Pine and Iron Country. And we kind of want the pact almost to be have its own sort of character in a sense. But so we have some questions to go through. And so first we'll answer a couple of questions. You're going to begin with 2 bond. And well, actually, we're going to begin with 4 bond, since this is a short series. Just so we can maybe move up a little bit through the ranks. And a trust level of 0. So bond represents your kind of ties to the characters or the other people of Iron Country. You earn that for completing hunts. And your trust is basically your tier, like in other Forged in the Dark games, kind of represents the strength of that connection. So the first question is, what is the unspoken pact? Or maybe it's a spoken pact, maybe it's a signed in blood pact, I don't know, that you've made with the people of Last Pine. Examples, to guard against the encroaching darkness and protect the people no matter the personal cost. To follow the ancient covenant and maintain the balance between darkness and light. If you all worked for like a Men in Black kind of, or SCP sort of secret agency, to act on the division's orders and contain what the people don't understand and obfuscate the truth for their own protection. Anyone have any thoughts on what kind of pact you want to have made with the people of Iron Country?
I think looking at our crew, we're kind of more maybe down to earth bunch. So something more maybe mundane and for the locals, I would think. So something like we stand our ground together against the darkness, something like that.
Yeah, we also have a lot of people that like want to reveal the truth about other people or mysteries. Like I also want to know if it's like protect the people and expose the truth to them or something.
So kind of figuring out a balance between, so one of the things that happens when you complete a hunt is you accrue alarm, or sort of like people start getting freaked out if they know too much about this. So kind of a balance between keeping that panic level down, but also maybe sort of feeling like people deserve to have the truth. We just need to find the way to deliver it that's not going to create havoc. Like, is that kind of what you're thinking? Or
Something like lead the people towards the truth, help the people towards something like that, to guide them. But I don't know how to phrase it poetically.
stand together against the darkness and guide the people toward the truth. Does that sound
Sure.
good? Cool. All right. And what is the promise, either spoken or unspoken, that you've made to each other? So some examples here: to have each other's backs no matter what, to respect each other's independence and stay out of each other's way, to never get involved in each other's personal business, but to rely on each other as hunters. Anyone have any thoughts there?
Oh, definitely not never get involved. Mrs. B is in everyone's business.
I thought that might be the case.
What about to never let one of us fall into darkness or something like that?
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Stephen.
Oh no, I was just agreeing. Sure.
I love that, especially since 2 of you are starting out with 1 doom marked already.
Yeah.
So never let another hunter fall into the darkness. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. I'm just going to note those down real quick. Great. And finally, what's the PAC's reputation? What do the people of Last Pine think of your group? Do they see you as just kind of meddling? Do they see you as a bunch of weirdos? Do they see you as troublemakers or eccentric, secretive? Are you frauds out to deceive the community? What do people, the regular people, tend to think of you as a group?
I have a pitch for this based on the fact that there is a TV show, a cable show that kind of front and centers occult stuff. I mean, it would be interesting if they didn't know we exist, but every time we do something that helps anybody, the cable show claims credit for it. So like there's some sense that creepy stuff is happening, and there's some sense that there are heroes who are like stopping it from ever like getting to, but it's just they think it's Hunter Andrews and I've forgotten the name. Sorry.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think though that like for at least because I think some of the XP questions are based on like our reputation. So we want to have a reputation like independent of just like this other group is taking credit for us. Although that's an interesting like plot thread to keep in mind.
Yeah, well, I think 100% that can be a plot thread that both will work against you, and potentially you can also use it to your advantage at times. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Steven is right. Your reputation comes into XP, so kind of
because it's like if we like fulfill that reputation on a like in a session, we'll get XP for that.
But if the reputation was non-existent, by keeping our identity secret, aren't we expressing that reputation? Isn't it only when we get caught doing stuff that we're going against it?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the sense that you get that beat of like one of us being publicly like cited doing something weird, and that kind of like I think that's like interesting.
Yeah. Trying to think of how to like sort of operationalize that as a reputation, but I think that's a cool idea, almost like sort of like secret identities, right? Like, so would the people of Last Pine see you as being secretive, or do they just see you as, they see you as regular people? Is that what it is? They see you as regular people, so the reputation gets challenged when something happens that pushes against that concept. I don't know, what do folks think?
I think this regular people can be cool, because it doesn't even have to mean that it will stay this way, because maybe they will learn of something that we did, but they can still be like, okay, they are just like us, we would do the same. So this would be maybe some kind of reputation that doesn't necessarily have to be like secret superheroes, but something like they are regular folks doing things in the moment. So something like they don't see us as secretive. Maybe they don't see us as really super heroic or amazing, but they can relate to us.
How do anyone have any feedback or objection to that?
That makes sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, and the XP trigger 2 for reputation is express or change your reputation. So,
yeah.
doing stuff to go against that, if you're kind of purposely trying to change what people think of you, that can give you XP as well. Reputation as regular people. Fill that out a little bit more if we want.
Maybe some of them think of us like Troy McPhee's adoptive family, because we're Troy and three, I think, older characters. So it might be like, this is the perception that people have when we meet up.
Yeah, I think that's like a good fictional beat that can kind of play into the reputation a little bit. Yeah. Great. And so does the group have a name? I guess maybe a question with this is there like a sort of cover, right? The reason why these four people are seen together so often. In the past, people have had like a book club, or they all work at the historical society together. Is there anything that feels interesting there, and beyond sort of what that thing is, does it have a name that you go by?
I feel like book club could work, especially with a school librarian and a someone else who works in the school. And
I mean, I think that Mrs. B totally would have thought ahead to reserve a rec center room for meetings.
So I'm going to ask Mrs. B, does this book club have a name? Because, well, I want to ask a clarifying question real quick. The band book club, that's for students, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The Burned book club?
Sure.
How do everybody feel okay with that? Okay.
I think I only show up with like the trashiest like romance books like in my hand every time I'm walking. I kind of make sure everyone sees what I'm carrying. I'm like, yeah, this is what we talk about. Don't worry.
Oh, that's great. Okay. And then we get to define the base of operations. So your pact has somewhere a house, a storefront, a back room in someone's place, a secret underground headquarters where they've set up shop and act out of. Is this the room at the rec center, or like in the basement of the library?
I mean, if people, yeah, I'm fine with either of those.
Basement of the library would be very comfortable for book, I assume.
Yeah, I also see Troy having like a cool workshop or something like that, where we could meet as well. We could also meet in, like, I assume Angela has the keys to like the sports like room or something like that. Like, I don't know. We have so many options.
I do boot camps there before we head out for you guys.
Oh yeah, a lot of good options. Any strong feelings on any of those options?
So this does like this is like fictional positioning, right? Like it matters like what kind of stuff we would be able to take with us based on our choice here, right?
To some extent, yeah, for sure. And it definitely gives you your base of operations has some options, right? Like like you might have a a containment room, right? Or a workshop, a garage, which actually then also gives you access to a vehicle. I mean, you can have a vehicle without that, but like this sort of would give you a place to store it and all of that. Does your base have an armory, or Do you have a cat that hangs out in the basement of the library or whatever it might be? So that might be a way to think about it too. Think a little bit about what upgrades you want to take and kind of work back from there. So you actually start with 2 upgrades that represent your pact, promise, or reputation, and then 1 additional upgrade. So you start with 3 upgrades. And on the pact sheet in the character keeper, if you hover over the upgrades, it gives you a brief description as well of what that upgrade entails.
In this case, I'm curious, Troy. I assume, given some of your options, you'd probably want to have a workshop in our base. Where would you envision it would be like an interesting place to have, like a place that would make sense to have your workshop set up?
So I was thinking, with Troy's family history in the Eldritch Arts, maybe it's Troy's house. Like, they'd have a garage, which is also a workshop, but also maybe like they could use the kitchen, the library. It's just the house in a kind of a, makes me think of like Buffy's house.
I like it.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So Troy's house, I hear you're starting with a garage and a workshop for sure.
And a vehicle? Mystery
Yeah.
van?
Well, yeah, I forgot that vehicle and garage were separate upgrades. Yeah, would you like it to be vehicle, or would you like it to be something else? I guess it makes sense for vehicle, but I don't want to have to push you into that if that's not what you want either.
I just don't want a garage without a vehicle. Like, I think that
A bit of a waste.
yeah.
I imagine Troy has a good truck, good, nice van for carrying furniture in. Could do that for the vehicle.
Okay. And just real quick before we sort of move forward with those things being the upgrades, is there anything else that like really kind of called to people that you might want to do instead?
Maybe secure would also be interesting with something like magic words, since it's Troy's house, but it's an idea.
Oh,
maybe it could be more exciting than a vehicle, but then we would have to exchange the garage as well.
Yeah.
Well, you could have a vehicle without a garage also. Just
in front. If you have magical words, you don't need a garage, because all the,
I mean, also like fictionally, the workshop could be the garage, and the reason you don't have a garage is because that's where the workshop is, right?
And no one's going to want to steal an old beat up truck anyway, so it's fine in the driveway.
Like, Ben, do you like the idea of like there being a magical ward around your house, like maybe something from your family's time,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think that idea is really cool.
Cool. Yeah, so the options then are workshop. Your base has a workshop appointed with tools for tinkering, alchemy, and so on. You may accomplish long-term projects with these assets without leaving your base. Secure. Your base has locks, alarms, and traps to thwart intruders. And that can be magical wards. So the way that would have to work, so the second upgrade in Secure actually is arcane measures that work against the supernatural. So what I would say, if everyone's cool with this, is that these wards only protect the house against like human sort of interference. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Cool. And then finally, a vehicle. You have a vehicle. It can hold 4 comfortably plus some gear. It'll get you where you want to go. So this is an old kind of beater pickup truck. What color is your truck?
I think it used to be red. Now it's kind of brown.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe like it has a door that's a different color, some
Yeah.
spots that are kind of what's the stuff called Bondo that you put over like rusted out spots.
Yeah, he's not a mechanic.
Yeah.
I was just thinking
Cool.
with the house being the setup, and it seems like everyone else is at least a little bit older than Troy. Could it be that Troy's mother was part of the club and now he's kind of a legacy member? And that's
Yeah.
why the house too. It's always been the house.
Great.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay. And then so then we'll also choose a faction that helped you get one of these upgrades, which will you'll take 1 status with, and a faction that was screwed over when you got an upgrade, which you can take -1 status with. And then we'll choose or create an ally, someone who knows about your base and what you do there. And that will potentially affect a faction status as well. So what I think is easiest, rather than like giving you the list of all the factions and being like, hey, choose one, I could give you a couple options maybe, and you can pick. Or if anyone did look through the list of factions, and there was anything that like really like stood out to people, like, hey, I want that to come into play in our game, we can do that as well. So I guess I'll ask that first. Did anyone, as they're reviewing the materials, see a faction that's like, I really want to have that in the game?
I loved the Soot Hill Widows. So
Oh,
the widows
yeah.
from the mining incidents, but I don't know if they will fit us right now. But
Sure.
from the I read, I love them.
Yeah. Maybe Troy bought his truck from one of the widows. The truck belonged to a miner who lost his life under mysterious circumstances.
It's definitely not haunted. That's not at
Yeah,
all why you were
definitely
able
not a
to get it
haunted
for
truck.
so cheap.
Oh, haunted truck. All right. I mean, not haunted. Definitely not. How do folks? Does that feel good for folks? That to take a status with the Soot Hill Widows. I'm running out of little note cards here. Okay. So they were helped financially, it sounds like, when you got this truck. And so you have +1 status with them. And then a faction that was screwed over when you got one of your upgrades. Ooh. What? Anyone have a? Oh, go ahead.
The Sawyer Harbor City Council, maybe the workshop makes a lot of noise in a residential area. The city council is always kind of on Troy's case, and
maybe they
I
even
didn't get it
wanted
closed.
to buy the land that the house was on, so they kind of wanted to build something there.
Yeah. So Sawyer Harbor is a separate city.
Oh, right.
But we can always just sort of reflavor it as the Last Pine City Council. Or,
yeah, there's also the Chamber of Commerce.
Right. Yeah, that was the other
So,
option.
I mean, look, your land is perfectly set up for Derwin Umbra to build his new studio on.
Oh God, Derwin's going to be really fun to hate, I think. So the Chamber of Commerce, is that folks cool with that? Okay. -1 status with them. And then any thoughts on what kind of ally you'd like to have? And then if you wanted, you could pick this from the list of names on the connections, or we can make someone up. or you can give if you want to sort of give a general idea about what kind of ally this might be. I have some NPCs in my pocket that maybe could fit as well. So any thoughts on what kind of ally you want to have?
So this is one person, not a faction, right?
Correct. This is one person.
Feel like having someone maybe in the sheriff's department who can, give us hints. There's something more up your alley about this case.
Yeah. Do you want it to be so? Sheriff Joe is she's always sort of a main player in Last Pine, so it could be her, or if you want it can be someone that's maybe a little bit lower down the in the organization.
Or I guess it could be someone from the local newspaper or news channel.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, Sheriff Joe works for me, but go ahead.
No, I just a question. Is there an option for an ally to be like not a normal person?
Yeah, I think that would be fine. Yeah. I mean, for example, one of the connection options on the Shield playbook is Glorax, a fugitive demon, right? So yeah, it doesn't have to be, someone mundane. It could be, something supernatural. Do you have an idea?
I didn't, but then you said Glorax, the fugitive demon, and I was like, that sounds like my best friend. Like, just like, no, I just had this idea of like, okay, like, what if the ally was somebody who understood this stuff better than us to some extent, but maybe doesn't want, them being supernatural also has some kind of conflict, right? Like, are they like, is our end game also getting rid of them? Like, what does that look like? Is this a compromise?
I think that we could make Sheriff Joe work for both of these ideas. That sounds like a fun and interesting challenge, maybe. If folks are cool with that.
What does that mean, though?
I mean, like Sheriff Joe, weekend werewolf, weekday sheriff.
Okay.
Perhaps. Yeah. Or, is involved with a competing supernatural order, or there's all kinds of things. I mean, I think it would probably be a play to find out situation, but I think we could definitely make that work because it definitely seems like a good source of information, like someone who would kind of know what's going on and kind of be able to give you hunts, but then there could also be this kind of added sort of complication that maybe you're not even aware of at first. Maybe that's something that kind of comes out during play. I don't know.
Sure.
People, I'm cool with that. Okay. And then I think I'll give you then you'll probably also take a +1 with the Pine County Sheriff's Department. So if someone wants to mark that down on the faction status, as well as putting in Joe as an ally. And if you ever need to use Joe to roll for anything, her tier is your trust +1, so she starts at tier 1. Cool. I'm trying to find real quick. I have a still work in project map that I can screen share, and we can sort of maybe if we want decide where Troy's house is on it. Okay. Save image. There we go. So this will take me just a sec. All right. So here's Last Pine in the state of Ontonagon. Can ignore the there's no labels on here yet or anything. So kind of in this. Oh, you can see my mouse too. Yeah. Cool. So kind of in the center area here, this is sort of like the downtown main area. This building right here, it houses City Hall, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Sheriff's Department are kind of all in the same building. The school is where'd the school go? The school's right here. We can see a big like a football field. We can actually pretend that that's a hockey arena if we'd like. Probably an indoor hockey arena. And yeah, kind of around the outside, sort of all more residential areas. This river is the Guilty River. It separates Last Pine from East Last Pine, also known as Rat Town, for reasons lost to history, but the name has stuck. So any thoughts? Do we want the base to be kind of closer to downtown? Do we want it in one of these residential neighborhoods? Do we want it in Rat Town? Do we want it outside of the city itself? Anyone have any thoughts?
You mentioned it was in the perfect spot for.
Yeah, I think if the Chamber of Commerce, if we're pissing them off, it's in somewhere that maybe didn't used to be the prime real estate, but now like is in town.
Yeah. Let's see if I can. Oh, I don't know how to mark on this, but that's okay. Sorry, give me 1 second. I don't know what I just did.
Okay. We already lost, and it's not even session 1.
All of Last Pine has been destroyed.
Yes.
All right, let me just reshare that real quick. Cool. So maybe kind of in like this sort of area here or something. Like kind of right sort of maybe at the edge of downtown, but yeah, a good spot for Derwin's Destiny's new studio.
Well, if there's family animosity there, any spot would be a good spot for Derwin's studio.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But what if your house is on like a ley line or something?
Right, yeah.
Derwin's pretty sure those exist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe it's a little bit out a little bit further from downtown. And maybe that's Derwin's reason for wanting that, and he's got the Chamber of Commerce in his pocket since he's been bringing in jobs. He's employing the people of Last Pine. Cool. So we don't necessarily need to have an exact spot on the map either, but just kind of have an idea of a sort of where it is. That sounds cool to me. If that sounds cool to y'all. All right. And stop sharing. We are at the top of our second hour. Do we want to pick a packed ability or take a break and come back and pick a packed ability? And we also can, if we want, choose or add some locations on the map just to flesh out the setting a little bit. So would we like to take a break and then finish that up, or kind of power through that and then take a break?
I'm okay with powering through.
Okay.
Yeah, we also still need to give beliefs as well, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, with beliefs, I think I'd rather take a break then, because we're still going to need to talk those out with each other.
Okay. Yeah. Let's take we'll take a 5-minute break here. So be back at, I guess 11 minutes after.
Sure.
All right. See you in a little bit. All right. So the pact abilities are listed in the character keeper. And yeah. I don't know if folks have taken a chance to look through these. Otherwise, we can kind of walk through them one by one or talk through. Yeah, go ahead.
Forged in the Fire. I think it's perfect. The pact has lost someone in the past. Who? Each hunter has been tapped by this loss and can gain 1 to resist in an attribute.
Okay, and so is the person that we lost then that's Troy's mom?
Sure. Yeah.
Unless anyone has other ideas, I guess that made sense just based on kind of what folks have come up with so far. Also, a lot of this sort of background stuff has been very Troy heavy. So if anyone wants to use this as a sort of hook into, other stuff, that's okay too.
I mean, they're all great abilities. Like I think, but yeah, I think this one I like the fictional hook it gives us.
Sure. No, I think that makes sense for me. Sure.
Okay, cool. So yeah, take Forged in the Fire, and then on your character sheet, there is a little checkbox next to each of the attributes. So whichever attribute you choose, hit that checkbox, and it will give you a bonus when you roll resistance on with that attribute. Let me just real quick. If I remember correctly, it doesn't have to all be. Yeah, you can each choose your own. It doesn't have to all be the same one. I guess I would be curious to hear if folks have ideas. Why you pick the attribute that you pick. Why that might how the loss of Troy's just Troy. Does your mom have a name? I mean, I know she has a name. Do you have a name for her?
No, it was a mystery this entire time. The fire that claimed her, Troy, my name is, and then it was just burnt.
How do we feel about Emma?
Sure.
Cool. All right. Which attributes are you picking? Does anybody have that figured out? Looks like a couple. Let's start with Troy. Troy, I see that you picked Heart. How does that factor into losing your mom, helping you be able to resist kind of like emotional consequences better?
Well, losing both of his parents, he's been a little closed off, and he's gone through a lot of loss. Very little else could hurt that much again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Cool. Book. You chose Mind.
I think Book feels like they let Emma die because they didn't plan enough. So now Book is determined to never be caught unprepared. So I think that's what that reflects.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Mrs. B, you also chose Mind.
Yeah, I think it also similarly, I think losing her sharpened my old instincts from before my retirement. And that's kind of it's refocused me and kind of reignited some of those old skills and survival tactics.
Nice. Yeah. And Angela also took Heart.
Mm-hmm. So I think losing part of the team always, just someone that you're close to, always kind of restructures some things in your life, focuses you maybe on what's most important. And I think this for her added some determination and just feeling that what she's fighting is important, and just like the conviction of it all.
Yeah. Oh, that kind of gave me goosebumps a little bit. Cool. So, then what we would do, let me pull the map back up. And computer's being a little weird. What we would do is we'll just go around the table, as it were. You can each kind of choose or make up a location in Last Pine. So this can be putting things on the map that we've already talked about. So like Bishop's, Bishop Allgood's church. It could be the bookstore or the curio shop, or it can be just something new. So let me bring that up. So we'll just go in order across my screen. So Stephen, any thoughts on what you'd like to add to the map? Or kind of fill out something that's on the map?
Yeah, and we'll each add one thing, or is...
Correct, yeah, one thing.
Okay. I mean, your idea of Bishop Allgood's church was good. I also, but I really like, if we're going with this hockey thing, I like to add the abandoned quarry, now a lake. It freezes over every winter, but there's the belief, there's the kind of, is it true, is it not, that exactly one person is lost in it every year?
Perfect. And how far out of town do you think? So we have an old, no longer active mine up here. This is the Soot Hill mine. Is the quarry near that? Or maybe over here by this the Grand Superior Hotel?
Yeah, I see like this area of the cliff here. Maybe it's kind of out here at the edge. Like it's just close enough that like people from town could like bike or drive there. Like, because, yeah, like maybe around. Oh, of course you can't see but I'm seeing that little, like the little cliff here.
This one?
Yeah.
Or down here?
Yeah, like around here. Yeah, either of those places work.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, this one down here puts it a little closer to town.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I love that. Okay. Does the quarry have a name, like a nickname that it's known by?
Emerson Quarry. I think it's called that because of like I think that like when they originally flooded the quarry, that was a worker ground in the flooding of it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Cool. Troy, any ideas?
I think we need the public access station. And the studio.
Do we get that right here with the big tower?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. What if the show like started out as like a public access show and then got picked up for like basic cable, but it's still operating out of this old, cramped kind of studio, and that's part of why they want to expand and build a bigger studio, which just happens to be Troy's house.
Yep.
Certainly just a coincidence.
No ulterior motives there.
Yeah. Cool. Thomas.
So I think what I'd like is some kind of place where there would be computers, but I don't actually have a good idea for what that place is. So if anybody does have a suggestion of like a building that would have in 1994, just like.
I mean, I think like if we want to like tie it into some other groups that might also be interested in the weird or the occult, I think I saw on one of Jex's things is the FBI, and maybe there's like a new FBI server farm or something that is certainly just a server farm, right? There's nothing else going on there.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, Thomas?
Yeah, I think we might be too early for the term server farm, but
I mean,
but yeah.
I think this is like just the beginning of the heyday. So like this is like they actually need servers to operate. Like even in this period, right? They needed servers to operate the internet off of. Or I might be wrong.
No, I don't know. I could easily be wrong as well. But yeah, I love the idea that we know the FBI have a little computer back office here or something like that we think about.
Yeah,
it's just a weird thing that Last Pine was their place for it. Yeah, I like that.
Because they don't have, the feds don't have like a field office here. That's over in Sawyer Harbor. But for some reason they have this little office where every once in a while there's some agents working out of it, but it also lots of computers and some servers and
and also it's probably like they're technically an agent, but like only technically.
Oh yeah, like definitely. I just love the idea of that. Like they have put in this overlooking it, like the weirdest like conspiracy theory agent, because like they're just like, oh god, this guy. Let's just put him here where we don't have to talk to him.
He is Archie Morse, he, him pronouns. And he has been relocated to, I think, what they just colloquially call the farm. And his job is to be in charge of this place. It's maybe even technically in some ways a promotion, but it's really not.
Yeah, and maybe instead of server farm, data center. Data center, I think, might be the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Can they still call it the farm as a nickname?
Yeah,
Does that
sure.
Work? Okay.
Well, because it's the farm, not because it's a server farm, because that's where that's where they send out agents to pasture.
Right, exactly. That's where you send the old dogs to die. Yeah.
Or maybe it literally was a farm, like this is in a barn.
Mm-hmm.
Or a converted barn.
Cool. Yeah, so let's Thomas, this one was yours. Where do you think this is on the map? Like what kind of area?
Where's our base again?
We're like, was it? We picked somewhere kind of like in this area, maybe. Is that right?
So maybe to the top right, on the road out.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, somewhere there. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Cool. And I'll mark up this map a little bit between sessions so we have some stuff on here. Cool. And Barry.
I was thinking about some sort of abandoned place that teenagers party in. So it would be like the spot that the teachers from the school hate the most, and they come up. The teens come up there to drink and to sometimes fight or to have dance moves, like dance party, something like that. And maybe it's some sort of abandoned project that the council tried to create to bring more jobs to the town, but it just never worked out. And now it's just this. Maybe it was supposed to be like a small shopping gallery, but it just never took off because it's just not the size of town that needs it. And now it's dive. It's like
That's
Well,
so good. Yeah.
kind of like a what we would call a strip mall, right? Like sort of a block of like a few different shops. But everything there is abandoned. So like this is like the teenagers like amazing fantasy, right? Because they have like multiple places that they can kind of go and mess around in, and they're probably all connected by like some like back halls or something. But
and it's the 90s, so that they've also set up a skate park in the parking lot.
oh yeah, 100%.
Maybe also one of the reasons it was just shut down and never worked out is that there was some sort of secret thing going on there. Like there was something happened, the FBI was involved, no one knows what happened. But after that, the business just never had opportunity to work out.
Awesome. Yeah. Y'all have given me so many juicy hooks. We'll see how much of them actually are able to come up and play, but hopefully we can get in a bunch of them. Cool. Very cool. Like I said, I will mark up the map a little bit between now and next time. But why don't we circle back around to drives and beliefs and drive? Oops. Anyone have any ideas kind of starting out, would like to jump in, or do you want to take some time to think about it? That probably makes sense.
I have a thought for because I just when I heard Manuel introduce his character, my immediate thought was, bless his heart, Book thinks he knows the true nature of the world.
Oh yeah, I like that. Are you cool with that?
Oh yeah.
What is there something that you can add?
I was gonna add, bless. I need to protect him from the worst of his mistakes.
Oh, that's great.
Watch me save the day every session, Steven. Like,
anybody else have thoughts about their belief about the pact or another hunter?
I've got one. I think I have this. It's something like Angela can't keep putting herself in danger. One of these days, she'll get unlucky or something like that. Like Angela keeps putting herself in danger, and someone needs to protect her or something like that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I like that you got to the actionable part there. Yeah, someone needs to protect her. Barry, you okay with that?
Yes, I really like it.
Okay. Barry or Troy, do either of you have thoughts on a belief about the pact or another hunter?
I think Troy believes that guiding people to the truth is a terrible idea.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so juicy. Yeah. The sort of implicit action there being that you sort of are trying to undermine the pact's efforts to do that, or
to keep them from revealing as make sure they reveal as little as though he can get away with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Barry, how about you? Any beliefs about the pact or another hunter?
I'm still thinking. Need a few minutes.
Okay. Sure, no worries. Yeah. What about, does anyone have a thought about their second belief, a belief about the world or the supernatural? feel like we've gotten a little bit of this out already, particularly from Book, I think. Yeah.
This might be too directly tied to my former belief, but that the supernatural only brings harm and ruin.
I think that's fine. I think that makes sense. Maybe adding a clause about what that means in terms of how you act as someone who harnesses the supernatural, right?
He's probably going to look for any way he can to shut it down.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess going directly against Book's belief, it is our ignorance of the supernatural that threatens us.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts for Book's second belief then?
Computers channel the void. They need to be destroyed.
Yeah, I love it. And it rhymes. It works perfectly. Bonus XP if you can make beliefs that rhyme. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, no.
Barry, have you come to anything?
Even harder. It's so hard. You guys have too much cool beliefs now. It's I'm thinking about something about Mrs. B. Maybe something about like your past. Maybe Steven, you can help me and tell me a bit something about some things that Mrs. B has told Angela about.
Yeah, like I am the only outsider of the group. Like you think that I have the best interests of everyone here, but is there but will my past but do you need to protect the town from whatever my past is?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or like Mrs. B's past is a liability.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was trying to also turn it into something directly actionable.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think Book is technically also an outsider, right?
Okay,
but not from as far away.
Not
I think.
from as far
Yeah.
away. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you are a bit secretive about it, so I need to find out about Mrs. B's past and the dangers of it.
Sure.
So that's more actionable.
Yeah.
To make sure that it doesn't harm us.
What does Angela think about the world or about the supernatural?
So I think she's never known any other life. So for her, it's something like maybe deep down she has the feeling that the supernatural cannot be ever ended. That we must learn to live with it somehow. So we must fight it, but we can never end it. Something like this.
Oh, I love that.
We will always be fighting the supernatural.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out of that, because I think that's a really cool idea. Yeah. Cool. And then is it okay if we move on to drives? All right. So I did not put drives in a very logical place in this book, apparently. Where'd this go? Okay, note add to... Oh, it's with... Okay, never mind. Actually, it does make sense for there, because it's with the playbooks. Okay, so you do not have to use these prompts, but these are the prompts, and I'll just go through one by one. So for the lance, the prompt is: Are you alone in your beliefs, or do others walk beside you on this winding path? Write a drive related to your sect or crusade.
Okay.
You want to take a couple minutes to kind of figure that
Yeah,
out?
and you can go ahead and read out to other people. I'm going to
Perfect.
brainstorm on that.
Perfect. All right. The Raven. What tragic past takes can you never? That's not the right word there. I don't know what that word is supposed to be. Give me 1 second.
Mistakes. I think
Mistakes.
it's
Yep.
mistakes.
You're right. Yep. Absolutely. You are 100% right. That also makes sense how that happened then. So let me make a note to fix that. So what tragic past mistakes can you never force out, no matter how much studying you do? Write a drive related to your research or pursuit.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. Maybe I contributed to this problem myself somehow. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Take a moment to think on that. Okay. For the Scourge, will you give in to your dark temptations? Write a drive related to your craft or its power. See one definitely tying into that second belief here, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the Shield, what keeps you moving forward? Write a drive related to a past tragedy or a future hope. And if this is something that folks want to have a little bit more time to sit with, this is something that would be okay to maybe finish between sessions too. If it's hard to kind of come into something kind of on the spot.
But a drive is just a sentence that is something like what I want to do, right? Like
Right.
why I'm.
I will blank. So I will
Yeah.
drive out the darkness. I will never let XYZ happen. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've got mine, which is I will find out why these damn computers speak to me.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I think I'm going to actually, to kind of make an interesting contrast here, I will keep the Book of Names hidden so it can never be opened again.
I love it. I want to know everything about the Book of Names now.
I think Angela, as an educator, And the idea is to have something more more vague, maybe, but something like, I will make this a better place for the future generations.
Cool.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your second belief is about how we have to make peace with the supernatural constantly existing, right? So you need to kind of like tell kids that like this is going to be part of their life, right? Like you need to, yeah, that's good stuff.
Ben, any thought? Oh,
Sorry. I want to say that I love how this conflicts with Troy, and also Troy being the youngest person on the group. So interesting.
I'm thinking kind of like a more focused version of Angela's, that he's going to protect the world from the supernatural.
yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. We have about 15 minutes left. We could kind of play a brief starting scenario, like not really going into a full hunt, but just kind of maybe do some kind of scene. Or I guess I feel maybe a little bit more inclined to kind of end things here, and then we can start kind of fresh at the top of a hunt with next session. But I will do either way if anyone has a strong preference. If someone's like, I need to roll some dice, I'm okay with that.
I think it's better to not have such a time limit, right? A bit, maybe too small.
Yeah.
To start.
Okay. All right, I am going to stop the recording. Bye, everybody.